Hi, my name is Gil Robertson, president of the African American Film Critics Association. Today, we're thrilled to be talking to the cast and creatives responsible for the upcoming BET Plus show, Average Joe. We're going to kick things off by introducing you to the AAFCA members who are on the call today, starting with Al McGee in South Florida, Philippe in Washington, D.C., Nancy Green, Los Angeles, Carolyn in Toronto, Ray Cornelius in Atlanta, Dana Abercrombie in New York, and Jill Monroe in LA. I'm going to let you guys do what you do so well. And guess what? I'll see you on the other side.
Everybody grab a drink, please. To Teddy Washington.
To Teddy!
The world's greatest Steeler fan you'll ever see. Father. Tow truck driver. And sometimes asshole.
Joe! What in the entire fuck? Let me get this straight. Your dad stole $10 million from the Russian mob.
Is that right?
And a Lamborghini.
And a Lamborghini. You sound insane.
What do we do, go to Touch?
Yeah, we call touch.
We was just thinking, like, maybe we look for the rest of the money.
Yeah, but we knew what you were gonna say.
I want in.
We had no idea what you were gonna say.
You want in?
In.
Touch is in? Let's be clear, Touch. This case is mine.
And I know this town better than anybody else. You can trust me.
Maybe I can trust you. What are we gonna do? I saw in one of my murder shows. What we need to do is chop these fools up. What?
You are dead! Oh, hey! Fucking take it easy.
All of you! What are we gonna do?
I think the only way out of this is you leave town.
You're a fucking cop.
Considering
you can't
the
think of other cop
circumstances,
things
Joe,
to do?
yeah.
Family is everything. I guess I don't need to tell you that.
We'll kill you. Promise you.
This is not who we are. This is not our life.
There is $10
$10 million problems.
Hey, I'm Al McGee. I'm from Florida, here in Boca Raton, and I'm with yeticket.com. My first question is to Miss McWilliams. In this role, I really enjoyed you in this role. And
I thank you.
And you play this sexy wife, but you use it on your husband. Why did you decide to do this type of role? But did you feel comfortable with this type of role? And the character name is Kathy, so did you feel comfortable playing Kathy?
Oh yes, definitely. Why did I choose the role? Oh, because of this incredible cast and the incredible writing. I chose it because as soon as I read it, I thought I have to be a part of it. I know Michael Trucco often talks about that, how sometimes when you read a script and you go, there's a role that you read and you say, I can't see anyone else doing this. Just really felt like it's different than the roles I've recently played, and really probably from anything I've ever played. So I was very excited to do that. Was I comfortable? Absolutely. You know, I'm a grown woman now, so I'm very comfortable in my body and my sensuality. And I was also extremely fortunate in that Malcolm Barrett, who plays my husband on the show, was actually my real life partner. So we were really fortunate to have this very special opportunity to work together, but it did, I think, help with the chemistry. I know we said when we were testing that, you know, we had a screen test and we sure did hope we had chemistry. So that worked out to our favor, I think. We've gotten a lot of comments since about the level of tonguing down going on this show. And I think that was safe because we were safe with one another. Our intimacy coordinator was a little bit out of work on our set.
Well, thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Hello, guys. I am Philippe Patterson from Taji Mag here in DC. My question is for Deanna and for any of the cast who wants to answer. Average Joe is filled with the unexpected twists and turns. What was your first reaction to reading the script once you read it, without giving out any spoilers, of course?
It was everything. That's the best word to describe it. They had everything in it, everything that I was interested in as far as playing a character. And it had everything in it that I was interested in at the moment.
Well, I think one of the beautiful things about this show too is the way that our executive producer, who created it, wrote it, has meshed the worlds of comedy and drama together, and then to sprinkle on like all of the twists and the turns and the excitement, and you're always on edge. Like, I've been listening to a lot of people who just regular folks that have been enjoying the show, and he managed to lock them in from jump. So I think that's when you're able to do that kind of thing, to mesh all of those things, suspense and intrigue and drama and comedy. When you're able to mesh all of those, that's like genius. And then you have like this incredible cast that comes in and breathes life into it. Like, it's just magical, and those kind of things don't come along every day. We are so blessed to be a part of something like this.
Yeah, I was going to expand on what Tammy was just saying, and what Dion said. It's everything. The minute you read this script, the minute I read this script, you could see it was apparent. It was almost like a well-written play. And what I mean by that is that everybody is an essential player. It's like a volleyball team keeping the ball in the air. And it's an indescribable thing that when you read it, there's not somebody who's singled out and everybody's sort of an ancillary character. Every character is important to the story. And these scenes are written in a way in which the ball just keeps bouncing back and forth between the characters. And that's the kind of stuff that excites me. Is like, there's a rhythm, there's a musicality to a script like this. And it was apparent to me the first read of that pilot script. I was like, that's the kind of project that I want to do and I want to be a part of. And I just, like Cynthia said, you read something and you can't picture anybody else in that role but yourself. You have to go after it.
And I think, like you said, much like a play, that more importantly, at the table read, I felt like we all loved the script individually in our own homes whenever we got it, right? And we got there, and I'll never forget that day when we all kind of saw each other around the table, starting with, I think, I'm so sorry, guys. I'm struggling. A lot of talking lately. Not for work, just me talking too much. I think starting with us all looking at Dion and being so surprised with exactly what he was saying about, now we've all read, each other's articles and interviews and been working together and seeing each other, but we all know that Dion was really looking to do something, and really actually originally was trying to pitch his own project that was very similar to this, something that was allowing him to be both comedic and dramatic. And I think there was some hesitancy or disbelief of like, could he do these things? Even though, we had already seen him do The Harder They Fall. We'd already seen his range be pushed. But at the table read, each one of us, I think, were like, oh, wow, we are embarking on something and we're being led by someone who has the ability to do this job. And then each of us were like, oh, yeah, we're part of an ensemble. I just think sometimes you get, told something's going to be an ensemble. It doesn't quite feel that way. This was, yes, in all of my geeky nerd theater days, I have never felt such an incredible sense of ensemble. So yeah, I think that was also what I felt upon first reading the script and then hearing it amongst our players.
Hi, I'm Nancy Reed with Film Critique. And I loved your answers for the last question, because that is something that I was really enjoying about the show. Just this sort of this mix of the comedy and the drama. So I wanted to know if you could talk a little bit more about another blending that I saw, which is there are a lot of things that are very specific to like Black culture in the show, which I really loved. One of my favorite movies is A Simple Plan, which this is kind of has that sort of element to it. And so I wanted to know if you could talk about also like the blending there of bringing the actual aspects of like Black culture into the show as well.
Michael, do you want to handle that question?
Well, I'm glad you asked that question. From my experience, I think Malcolm put it best when he said,
Way to tee up, Michael. Way to tee up.
he went away. He scared him. There he is.
Well,
Black
can
culture,
anyone hear
baby.
me?
Talk to him about Black culture.
Yes.
Can anyone hear me? I don't know if my shit
Yeah.
is working.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Oh, okay. Honestly, I missed the question because I was trying to set up. I'm so behind. Something about Black people?
She was asking about, she was saying that one of the things she really enjoyed was how much Black culture was also like actually a prominent subject matter in the series. And how did we feel about, how that being put into the show, infused into the show, or how it affects the show, et cetera?
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's a weird thing to have to speak to Black culture in general, right? Like it's, because we're not a monolith, right? Like ideally, in any script, it's organic, right? And ideally in any script, you're able to fuse who you are into the character, and a lot of times, the Blackness is part of that identity. Oftentimes, I audition for characters where the character description is any ethnicity, which is fine, and it's great, and it gives a lot of opportunities. But I always think of the story of I can't remember the actor's name, but he's a Southern actor and he worked on Lost, and he talks about an audition he had for the show, and it went well, right? It went okay. He wasn't sure, and then they were like, he was trying to do just a regular accent, and then he did a Southern accent, and it all of a sudden brought out all this beauty, this nuance, and all these things that he got to be because he got to be truly himself. And so what's interesting about this story is that I got to build that community, and I got to be a part of a people, and I got to be Black without trying to be. It wasn't like, hey, isn't this, what is this saying about culture? It's just, when you have a group of people who share a history and a culture, organically, it'll feed into the story, right? And, as we know, Rob Cullen, this wasn't originally meant for an all Black cast, right? But the story was universal enough that it fit. And then once you hired all these actors and made it an all Black cast, it suddenly seemed like that's what it was all along. And I think being open to that and folks being able to see each other and express themselves and see each other's faults and nuances within each other is incredibly freeing. And not just that, the fact that this isn't just a story that you usually see with Black folks, is also what's amazing about it, right? Because we got to tell this story that seemed universal and make it detailed and specific to us. And because it was so specific to us, it spoke to everybody. And that's the beautiful part about being able to be Black and being Black in this, not because we happen to be Black, but because we are Black.
Hi, everyone. I'm Carolyn. Here's what happened in Carolyn Toss podcast. Thank you so much for doing this roundtable. This show, I did not know what to expect from Average Joe, and the show is nothing but average. One of the things that I think is really, to me, the most important aspect of the show isn't the whole murder, steal, kill aspect, but more like talking about how our psychology, our mental health affects the way we react to situations. What I noticed about all the characters are struggling, having their own individual mental health struggles. Like for Dion's character, he's struggling with his grief of losing his father, but also the complicated relationship he and his father had. And for Cynthia, I think Kathy she's obviously depressed. To me, she's very depressed, but that's affected her relationships to the people around her, her husband, her this acrimonious relationship she has with Tammy's character, but also I think her response to death and murder and everything that's going on. And I kind of see her and Touch as being two sides of the same coin, because these characters are going through depression, but for very different reasons. But they're the ones that their inability to really connect to people emotionally are having them react to this very intense and very dangerous
and very gross situation, vastly different to everyone else. So I want all of you to talk about the mental states of your characters and how that plays into the responses to the characters. But I want to start first with Dion, Cynthia, and Michael, because your three characters are the ones that I'm just like, what is going on here, and when will everyone get therapy? We'll begin with Dion first.
What if we went to family therapy, guys?
Please, Touch is Touch needs that he needs help. He is struggling. He is struggling. But Dion, will begin with you first.
So I was going through a whole lot at the time, filming a whole lot, like a whole lot. And it didn't dawn on me until later on to kind of like, I think we was maybe an episode in, 2 episodes in, where it dawned on me that, I don't know why, but it was like, well, idiot used this for the scenes. And I was just like, oh yeah, right. And I was just like, but I was so consumed with my problems that I didn't want to keep living it over and over. But when I decided to put my big pants on and do it, then it started kind of linking and gelling, and I started to like be kind of more comfortable in that space or whatever. Being able to go home and cut that off is an issue too, because you're living that, you live in whatever you need to live in order to bring that character and that situation to life or whatever. And it was I've never done that before. And if it read or if it didn't read, I still went through it. And it's something that I, would take with me even to other projects or whatever. But yeah, it was something else doing this show, period. Like for real, And to go back to your other question real quick too, Black people ain't never happy. Let's just throw that out there. Like you just gotta do what you gotta do, and hopefully somebody like it. Period, blank. You can have a cure for AIDS in your hand. Somebody be like, did you see his nails? Like that's how Black people are sometimes. Like so sometimes you just gotta do what you gotta do, and hopefully people like it. And that's what happened. I think we went into this with all hearts open, and we gave it our best, and you could see it in the performances. And and the cast is tripped out to work with. Everybody's so great because it shows you where you lack at. It was like a lot of greatness around me, and it was like, yo, wait a minute. Oh, that's right. I eat cereal with a fork. God, it's like this greatness shows you your imperfections, and that's another thing I learned from this cast and this character too.
I'm gonna just say also that what was great about Dion is that Dion was very open. Do you know what I mean? And I don't know, you asked, Cynthia and Truco and all of that, but it's a very hard thing for folks to have to put themselves out there, speaking about that mental state, because we all are meeting each other, a lot of us, not me and Cynthia, obviously, but first time we're working together for the first time. And we're having to push each other in a lot of different ways. And it does take a certain amount of discipline to be able to open that door when you're on stage or on set, and then close that door behind you when you leave set.
I was just going to say, it's interesting. I always enjoy hearing people's takes on things. When I love the boldness to tell us, Kathy's depressed and Michael needs to get his shit together. I think I also love, the analysis of characters and hearing things like us being two sides of the same coin. I feel like in going into the process, Truco, I know you have your approach and I've had mine. We've talked so many times about how much we love these characters and we're excited to get into playing the darker sides of them. But it certainly wasn't anticipated. I don't know that we thought as we were going in, I certainly didn't, in her first episode, you know, Kathy does talk about wanting to unalive herself. And I think it's a very telling statement. But then the action, you know, sort of ensues and we set that aside. And in the same way, maybe that we do that in life, I suppose, as a character, that was inappropriate. I had to set that aside, you know, because from that point on, we're not dealing with that. We're dealing with whatever's at hand. And I can only deal with what's being written for me. So I think knowing that definitely affected how I played her, but I don't at all think that I led with the idea that she was depressed. I think if anything, you know, a lot of times when there's funerals and it's very interesting that people say all the time that people deal with grief with sex. You know, it's a very common reaction. And I think that whether it be with her sex, or with her hostility, or with the grabbing on to excitement, I think in general, what I felt about Kathy is I don't know that I led with the idea that it was depression that was guiding it, but I definitely felt like this person is looking for any and everything to distract her from what is going on. And exactly like I said, I don't know that she's ready at this point. This character hasn't been written, or she is not ready to acknowledge that depression. So I can't even really speak to it. I think she may not even really be aware of that yet. I do feel in the later episodes, we're going to see a bit more of how she's become who she is now. But for me, I think that Kathy is pushing past, and I feel like that's something a lot of women do, definitely a lot of Black women. And if indeed we do get to a point in the story where her depression comes to the forefront, I hope that we're able to, and I'm able to responsibly portray how a person may and could and should possibly deal with that depression.
Yeah, I'll say what, expanding also what Cynthia was saying, is that I think everybody's depression, these characters' depressions manifest themselves in different ways, but the one universal truth about people's depression is seeking diversion. And what that diversion is different for everybody and every character. And clearly for mine, he stepped into the most obvious, and that's the drug addiction, and that's the use. That's always a mask for depression. The drug addiction is something to escape what's really going on. And for Touch, if you saw the beginning of episode 2, that is the perfect encapsulation of the foundation of Touch's mental state. That scene, that one moment, that flashback to 10 years ago, is something that is also special that the audience got to see it, because that's usually the kind of information we get as an actor. That's our quote unquote backstory. So that's the foundation for where the pain is coming from. For that to be shot, and when we shot that scene, that was a really difficult day with that beautiful little 5-year-old girl who had to, you know, go up there and pull that gun, and it was just so heartbreaking to watch that and to be part of it. But that is the right there, I would say, for Touch, and for me personally, that's where I built, that was the groundwork. Those were the roots that I laid down for the character, and what I had to carry in every scene and every episode was remembering viscerally what happened on that morning and reliving it over and over and over in your head. And it's like a voice that screams. It's like tinnitus times 1,000, and you just do anything you can to numb the screaming. And for me, for Touch, it's the oxy, it's the heroin, it's the drug addiction. But it's funny, isn't it? It's comedy. Hey.
It is.
Great show.
It is. And for Tammy, I want you to also talk about this, because the thing about your character is she's struggling in a way that other people aren't realizing. Like she's disabled, and she has an invisible disability. Like I myself have one. I have multiple sclerosis. I have MS. So when it's mentioned that she has poly, and I'm thinking, is this a polyneuropathy? Like it's a condition that it manifests differently, but for her, it's affecting the way she's reacting to this situation the same as everyone else. Like, because she's thinking about her health, she's thinking about the consequences, about the stress, like how this stress is triggering her relapse and a flare, because that happens with me as well. Like when I'm stressed, it triggers my relapses and my flares. So so I saw that commonality with her. I related to her that way. So talk about how she's reacting to this situation and how it's affecting her, and how other people aren't noticing how it's affecting her. They just think she's just being, what's the word? Like she's just being overly concerned, but she's looking at it from a completely different perspective.
Well, I mean, my character was completely satisfied with the life that she had made with herself. So there was no like hidden depression or anything. You find out later on, there's some things that she has given up to have this life, but she's settled in and she's all, head first into it. So when she starts that thing that she has molded, like her whole life is the family. And so when that is being challenged, she's still trying to grip onto the family and the stability and all of that. And so yes, with something that where you have like really severe arthritis, those things can flare up in your joints and also cause a lot of pain. But it's just the struggle to have the normalcy and the struggle to keep the family together. And each time it starts to, the stakes get higher and it starts to move a little, she still tries to find that normalcy within the family. Okay, so we're doing this now. Okay, how do we, because she knows she's the glue. So yeah, it for me, I've talked about this before in some of my other interviews. This was also a character that I took home with me, and it was the first time that it had ever happened to me ever. I'm very good is when they say cut, I stop and I'm gone. But for this one, it carried over. And I found myself, I'm a social person anyway, but I found myself when we were in Atlanta going out even more. And those things that, Cynthia talked about, the things that, Michael just talked about having the distractions to try to, so you can push through the things that you're going through emotionally, I was doing in my real life. So yeah, it got really kind of, when I got home, I had to do a lot of decompressing. But again, it's a comedy list, so we got some comedy elements in there. And I just want to say, like, it was a very, very good experience for me. But yeah, stressful on and off camera, definitely.
Great, thank you so much. And yes, it's a comedy, it's a dark comedy. And you know what? With the light comes the dark. So like, I think the show balances that perfectly. So again, thank you so much for everyone for answering my questions and terrific performances from what we've seen so far.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, Ray Cornelius here with Upfront Inside the Entertainment Industry. I gotta say, I haven't been this excited about a series since Niecy Nash's Claws, because it's crazy as hell. And it's almost like, where does this really happen? But I'm really excited about it. And I'm happy that it's a all African-American, well, primarily all African-American cast. But because it is a comedy and there's that infusion of drama, how much of what we're seeing in the final take was scripted, and how much of it is what you yourself have input with your characters and with the different scenes? And are you fed the scripts piece by piece? Like, are you finding out more and more of your characters as it goes along, or do you already kind of know the full outcome?
I always love those questions because there's always like a, we're all African Americans and Truca.
Not everybody. Thank you.
Hey, hello everybody.
And Mark. No, I mean we get the scripts, and I mean we get the script one script at a time, and what you guys go through as an audience, we go through as actors reading them at the table reads. We would sit there and we get excited every time we would get a new script because we are living the cliffhanger that you are watching. Right? Like somebody's going through drugs, someone got shot, somebody shot somebody, and we don't know what our character's journey is until the next episode. So we get just as excited. Like I sit there and go like, did I shoot somebody? Did I get shot? I'm like, what happened in my past? Same with like Truco. Truco talks about it where we're sitting there, it's like, all this backstory that we build in our heads, we're slowly getting to see as the episodes go along.
Yeah.
So it really is a big sort of thrill ride and roller coaster. And we sit on the edge of our seat every time we're at our own table reads, honestly.
And as far as how much was scripted versus how much was, what we're doing, I think it was all on the page, first of all. I mean, this script is incredible. The writers are incredible. Rob is incredible. They gave us so much. But what they also gave us was the freedom to really live and have live in these characters and have agency and authority over their points of views. Sometimes, you know, you might have to fight a little bit for the freedom to play, but for the most part, they really encouraged and loved when we got to play, you know. I think about our scene at me and Tammy, you know, everybody loves two ladies going cat-a-cat. But we had such fun that day. I feel like and some of that we didn't even get to make it, you know, to the edit, but boy, did we not do 19 versions of whatever got us to bitch. We did 19 versions of how we got there. And I loved all of that play along the way. Me yelling at Joe outside the house, that whole scene on paper, great. But to allow me and you know, I always love working with excellent comedians. They know how to keep a joke going. They know how to say yes and let it play out. But you know, I just think some of those really cool, fun moments only can happen when you have a director and a set that and other actors that allow for that openness of play. So we definitely got to play, but we were playing with a very solid script.
Yeah, it was we ad-libbed some stuff, but the script was already solid. I think it was one thing that, so Rob is an amazing writer, and culturally some things we'll talk about and just discuss and do. I kind of felt like my daughter was walking away too much, and I was like, I think we stopped one of the scenes, and I was like, hold on for a minute. I was like, this ain't real to me. I was like, ain't no black daughter gonna keep walking away from her mama like that, or her father. And Rob was like, no, we'll do what you think is best. And I just was like, all right, cool. And I think one of the scenes, I just was like, why she keep doing that? And I ad-libbed something where it was like, you know,
she gonna stop with this white girl shit. Where she get that from?
Yeah,
that was it. I loved it. I love that.
But it was like, it's those things, you know. But then it's also that way on the other hand, you know, Rob pen is deadly. It's so great. And so it'd be certain things that he speaks a certain language that'll reach a lot of people that I probably wouldn't say, but in order to reach that audience,
you mean the language of motherfucker?
Some of that.
The language of goddamn it. Black folks don't say goddamn it.
Oh, that's right.
Black folks say goddamn it.
Yeah, no, but he like I said, besides our culture and culturally changing things, Rob also knows the language of a language I don't know often, you know, which is, you know, another language. So he knows how to write that. And so therefore, in order to translate to that audience, it's good to, you know, quote what he says and don't change it.
That's to kind of piggyback on what you're saying, Dion. I agree with you on that. Like I think him as a white writer and coming from that experience, and then us bringing our experience in the Black spectrum is very wide as well. So each of us coming into that, but it is a Black show, but it has such mass appeal because of all the voices and all the experiences that are intermingled in this piece. So it's just, I know I say this so much, but it is so unique, and it is such a blessing to be a part of this, because there's so many moving parts in anything that is creative and developed. And when they all come together, it's spectacular. It typically doesn't happen all the time, which makes shows like this so impactful. Yeah,
Tammy about to cry.
About to cry.
Well, thank you very much. I thought it was perfectly cast. I thought it was perfectly cast. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
I said, cry, Tammy, it'll get us viewers.
Thank you guys. I thought it was perfectly cast, and I'm loving it. Definitely.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ray. I appreciate it.
Hi, Dana Abercrombie, the Coalition. My question is for the cast mainly. I'm really fascinated by the balance, so you could even argue the marriage of greed and survival. And so I was wondering, you know, knowing that the money belonged to the Russian mob and the dangers that that brings itself, do you feel that your characters are acting out of what they think is best for their survival within that moment? Or is it greed? Or you can make the argument that the greed is kind of created by their survival.
It's a great question.
That's a really good question.
That's a great
Yeah,
question. I mean,
think-
I'll just jump in real quick and say, I think it's an
Go ahead.
extension of what we were talking about before. You could argue that the greed is just yet another distraction. The money is a distraction from a life that we perceive, and you see it in the episodes. Even Dion's character says, you know, there's more. We can pay off the house. We can get Tammy. We can get the medical care. You know, it's a way out. And I think we're always looking for a way out of what we perceive as to be the next level. The grass is always greener, kind of thing. And so maybe that is an enigma of this show. The chicken or the egg did the greed come first, or is it the condition of the circumstances put upon us? But I think that the greed is yet another distraction. It's another way to anesthetize and sort of numb the pain.
Yeah, yes, very good question. But also, if you really think about it, and I just sat here and I thought about it, where I was like, you know what? It's kind of like people in the world, and no one really is living the way they really want to live. The majority of people, even the people that's super rich, they still lonely as hell. Believe me, I know. But there's a lot of people that's I know some people who know some people. No, but no one's living how they really want to live. And so much so that if you have an opportunity to change that, it's also that change that you chase. You know what I mean? Like some people, you ever see somebody that's constantly in a relationship? You have to ask yourself, do they love the many people, or are they in love with love? I think they're in love with just being in love and not the people. So it's the same thing with this. It's like you want to change more than anything, but it could be looked at as greed as well. But that change, to know that everything can change, is worth a bunch of chaos. Is worth that. And then that chaos become normalized the crazier things get. You know what I mean? So I think that I was just sitting here, I don't even know what I'm talking about probably. I'm just sitting here listening to what you said, and I was like, is it that or is it this? So it could be either one or the other.
Well, I think too, people are definitely motivated by different things. Can y'all hear me? Okay, cool. All right. I think people are motivated by different things too. So for my character in particular, I think there's so much self-sacrifice that she has given to her family anyway. So for her to the thought of having medication that could possibly change her life, okay. But I think the biggest part for her is not so much the money, but people will do anything for her. She will do anything for her family. So if that means I gotta murder somebody, or for my family, yes. For me, no. But for my family, yes. If I gotta do something that is, criminal, or have to do something that may be out of my moral standards or compass or whatever, I'm going to do it for my family. So yeah, I don't think that my character in particular is doing it for motivated by greed, but definitely motivated for the protection of her family.
I would say when you asked the question originally, is it greed or survival? And I remember in the first episode, because I watched the show like I've never seen it before, I'd be watching with such, eyes glued and intensity. In that first episode, when Joe and Leon are sitting there after the fingers have been broken, and they're talking and they've decided, and that's what I find this to be such an interesting sort of like, that's when it all happens. They're talking and at first we were going to just call touch. We were going to call touch, figure it out and just deal with this mess that had been presented to him. But that moment when he goes, unless, that unless, I mean, it was like you feel, and I felt as, and I imagine all the other audience members where everyone's going, I know it. Like, and it's what we all relate to that though. I feel like everyone in the audience was also going, I mean, oh, you could. And I feel like that's what we all have. We all have that. And I don't know if that's greed per se, but it is that the survival, right? The survival, the truth is, the survival would have been just get out from under the Russians. That's survival. They didn't have to get the money to get that. Survival was just how do we stay out of being the target of Russian mobsters. That would have been go to the cops, deal with the situation, clear our names, whatever. But getting the money definitely was driven by something else. I don't know if I'd call it greed yet at that stage, but it was something else for sure. And I think survival went out the window very quickly, and the entertaining of indulging in many other things for all of these characters happens quicker or slower. I know for Kathy, it happens immediately. So the second she see a key, she like, what this key? It's to a safety deposit box. Where is the money? Why do we have money? Do you have the money? Where is the money? Can we get the money? So, but I do think that at least we saw both Joe and Leon toy with the idea for a while of just doing what was necessary versus what was desired. But that unlocked it all.
Mm-hmm. I'll piggyback that and say that, the show's called Average Joe, right? And I think the average person, the average Joe, is often content but not happy, right? And I think for Leon, he was content but he wasn't happy. He had a wife, he was maybe struggling, but he had a business and he had priorities and he thought he could make something out of what he had, and he was happy to go along that path. And I think, for me, one of the most powerful scenes, it's definitely that scene between me and Dion, and it's also the scene that between me and Kathy in the midst of everyone, where I finally find out that she is neither content nor happy. And it changes everything, because when you have to share that with a partner, which all of the characters do in some way, shape, or form, right? Joe and Tammy's character and their family, and Ashley, as a daughter who, had a boyfriend and now has just her family and parents. Often we have our circumstances, but if they could be a little bit better, what would we risk to make things just a little bit better, to go from content to happy? And I think this show is about people who are on that road.
Hi, Joan Monroe, KBLA, RSVP. So what we see in all of the characters is that their special skill sets come to life to help guide through the process. Kathy in particular, we can think starting out, her love of crime shows comes in handy early. So what I wanted to know from you, starting with Kathy, each of you, if you were in a situation in your real life, what would be your special skill set in a life or death situation to move you sort of through the process?
Ooh. What would be my special skill set? Look, I am also, I'm very ready for the end of everything. I love zombie shows. I'm really into them, all zombie shows and all zombie movies. And I have a go bag in my closet right now. I have one in the car. I have that thing that you can like smash the windshield to get out. I have the thing that cuts your safety belt. I have the iodine, like the packs that if we were, for whatever reason, if there was an apocalypse or a zombie apocalypse, because I do think it's possible, if that were to happen, and we had to get clean water, I have the packs that can take dirty water and turn them into clean water. I have the thing that you cover yourself with to reflect the light. I got it all, guys. I'm ready. But in truth, I don't know that it's so much that my survivalist skills would come into play, because I think I'm actually probably going to crumble. But I'm very good. I'm a slick talker. I'm very good at talking my way in, out, and through things, because I believe that at the end of the day, it's not about being slick. It's just about connecting with people. I am probably to a point of naivete, trusting in people and trusting in the idea of love, and that really we all want to help each other. So I'm very good at tapping in, I think, to people's innate sense of goodness. I feel like that would be my special skill set, is that I would be able to get our crew through things by just getting folks to help us out.
Anybody else have any, or no? We kind of wrap with that.
I think I'd make a good hostage. I'm very empathetic. So I just think at some point I'd be like, no, I hear you, I understand, man. Take these ropes off, let's talk about this. So I think that would be my special skill, is empathy.
Empathy, you can see.
That's funny. I got nothing. That shit was funny.
For me, my special skill is I'm a worker. So if there's something that needs to be built, if it's something that needs to be forged, if there's something that somebody needs to go out, I'm probably going to do that. I'm that person. I'm very adventurous. Yeah, I'm gonna find it. If I need to get it, I'm gonna get it. So that's mine.
This is true. This is true. You're a very resourceful lady, Tammy.
I'll get somebody to buy me back.
What did you say?
Buy you what?
I'll have somebody buy me back. Like,
So your skill set is you got the resources for the money. If there's
I know somebody who got money that'll buy me back, and so I'll just ask them to buy me back.
Dion always got the hookup. Dion knows somebody. He get
Yeah, I always know somebody to know somebody.
Dion be like, hey, look, I got the apocalypse hookup, man. You don't even know, man.
I know a zombie that knows a zombie.
all the fresh bodies you need. I can do that.
Like, hey, don't eat her. That's my friend. Like, Jacob's a good zombie friend of mine.
I love how quickly I've gotten you all into the idea that it's not apocalypse, it's a zombie apocalypse, and everybody has signed on. Thank you. I'm very appreciative that you all know this to happen too. Now I know I got the right crew. We ready.
You guys, this is going to be a true treat that we are definitely going to enjoy watching as well as supporting. During our call, though, a question came up among the members as to exactly what would we call Average Joe. For some people, it's being perceived as a dark comedy, while others are looking at it as a dark drama with comedic elements. So to you, the members, having watched it, love to hear your first impressions, and definitely to the cast members and the creatives involved in making it, what were your intentions? Carolyn, I think you kind of opened Pandora's box with this.
I see it as a dark comedy. To me, I consider these kind of comedies situational comedies where the comedy comes from natural reactions, the things that we just say like off the top of our heads. Like the same thing with Dion was saying about the daughter walking away. I had the same thought when I was watching. I'm like, I know this child ain't gonna keep walking away from her mom and her daddy talking. And that made me laugh. So when he said the same thing, I was like, and I laughed because I was like, yep, see, I'm like, that's me. I'm like, this girl's so rude. But I see it as
so you're saying that you saw it first as a comedy and then as a drama.
Yeah, I see it as a dark situational comedy where the comedy comes from the situations these characters keep finding themselves in, like where Touch keeps saying like fucking Leon, where it's like all this, where it's like Leon does something inadvertently that just makes the situation just go a bit more haywire. So that's what I see, a dark situational comedy.
Ray, what about you?
I would have to agree. That's why I said it reminded me of the show Claws. Because Claws, there were serious elements, but then there was stuff that would make you just bust out laughing. And then, like you said, Carolyn, the just the language or the natural reaction. Dion, there were times when, again, I don't know if I'm going to laugh at you or if I should feel sorry for you. And then Tammy, you kind of give those looks where it's like, I can't say the N word, but it's like, and please.
Thinking that, but I was thinking that when I was doing the looks.
Right. And then, Michael, you kind of have like these weird looks too. So it's there are moments like you're looking at it and you're like, this shit is hilarious, but it's crazy. It's a crazy world. And you're like, this again, this shit can't be real. But then it's like, actually, it really could.
Well,
You know,
it's-
so yeah.
It's funny you say that because somebody touched on it. It's comedy, but it's not comedy. It's not so polished that all of our scenes and all our responses are written within an inch of their life. The responses and the reaction, the things that happen when people get into a heated, you never say what you want to say. You always come up with a cool shit to say afterwards. And like
Yes.
the scene where Malcolm and I, where Leon and Touch are in an argument, and I was like, "Oh, let you take your balls out." He's like, "Well, I'm going to put these balls on your chin." I was like, "What the fuck did you just say?" Like, just, you know, because you want to talk, and then that's real. Those kinds of things are what make us laugh at this really dark situation. And I like that we don't have these perfectly scripted, nuanced monologues where we say all the right things. Just the weird things come out of our mouth, and that's what keeps it in that very realistic realm.
Well, this is interesting, and it's important information, I think, for BET to have as they begin to market the show. Now, Dion, what are your thoughts? The show is built around your character and around your persona. Comedy, drama.
The darkly comedic drama.
Dion's on his messaging points. He's on his messaging.
Way to toe the line, Dion. Way to toe the line.
Comedic drama. Yeah.
Well, that's look.
AAFCA members, any other thoughts or comments to leave?
Well,
I really don't.
What were your first impressions? Not what they're telling you, but what do you see? Because what's going to matter is what you saw, not what anyone says it is.
No, for me,
it was.
Oh, go ahead.
No.
Well, basically, it just really got me how Kathy was. That was really got me just into it. I'm like, oh my goodness, I know people like that, and Jesus, I had a friend who had somebody like that, and I'm like, you gotta get rid of her. So I felt for Leon. I really felt for Leon.
So it sounded like it doesn't matter to you whether or not it's labeled a comedy or a drama. It's just
no. I mean, it's relatable. That's the most important thing for me. Because I mean, you find these shows aren't relatable, and you can't really compare to it. Like Zombie Apocalypse, it hasn't happened yet, so we can't really we can relate to like human element of it, but not really like the zombies being around. But this we can relate to it because if we were put in these situations, the same conversation would happen, and the dark side of people would come up. So, like I said, for me, it's a drama, but it's also a comedy in the sense of like Carolyn said, like everybody would respond in the same way. So yeah, it was just the captain thing got me. I was like, oh my god, I'm done.
Nancy?
Yeah, to me it's definitely a dark comedy. I mean, that's actually one of the things that I was looking for when I started watching it, because I know there's comedians in the show and stuff, so I was curious as to like how much drama there's going to be versus how much comedy, and is it going to be like showing that they can do like the dramatic stuff and the comedic stuff, or what. So I was already keyed into like looking for that, and what I really like about it is that it blends it very well, because to me like dark comedies are like that's one of my favorite genres, because it lightens what you're watching, and so it kind of pulls you along in a different way than drama. Like sometimes drama can be very it can be very good to watch, but it can also be very stressful. So like having that sort of comedic thing in there sort of relieves that pressure and allows you to like really get into things with the characters while you're watching it like in a different way. And definitely the thing with the daughter, I mean, I'm sitting there watching that, I'm like, is this a new thing? Because I don't think like young Black girls act like this. I'm pretty sure that's not right. Like, what is going on here? And so when Dion's character addresses that, I'm like, see, yep, I knew it, because that's exactly how I feel. What is she doing? Why is she acting like that? So yeah.
I really feel like that the show for me is not everybody that's commented on it, everyone that all the audience members, all the critics have said something about this show really seamlessly blending the comedy and the drama. We all talk about it, but I think that the reason it's so successful at that is that that's not what it was trying to do. I think the success of this show is that it didn't set out to be a genre. I think it is a show that operates outside of genre and in its own lane. Because what it really is a show that is fiercely loyal to telling the story. To me, this is a plot-driven, character assisted roller coaster ride. You know, I love that wherever we go, the writing is only there. The characters are only in this place, and they will continue to change, and the story will continue to veer left and right. But wherever we are, that's where we are. We're not trying to be anything other than the truth of the moment. And I really love that about the show. And I think it's why it's so successful at blending, because it wasn't attempting to do that. It was just attempting to be very honest in moment to moment revelation of this story.
Well, Cynthia,
One
I think
thing
you
real
just gave
quick.
us the
and then
answer.
I'll go. One thing real quick. This is the first time I've played a character where I wasn't the funny, like I had to be funny. Like it was like the first time that
But Dan, it's probably because of you that most people default to comedy, because you're known as a comedian.
No, absolutely.
So as soon as they see you, that's their expectation.
Absolutely. And so therefore, that's what I'm saying. It was tripped out, which was what I wanted, to have a project where I didn't have to be the focal. Every project I've done, I've came in, did my funny role and was out, you know. But this time it was like, it was good to see like everybody be so funny, like Cynthia and Tammy and Touch, and it's this line Touch says to me that just kills me all the time when he's looking at the bodies on the floor and he just goes, fuck. Like just that alone would just killed me. And Malcolm is like, I was watching this episode where him and Cynthia was at the table, and I was like, yo, this ain't no money, go home, this shit is over. And she was like, and he was like, yeah, it's over. And she was like, fuck that. And he was like, yeah, fuck that. Like, so funny. Like, it's like, it's refreshing to sit back and look at that and be like, I could just coast. I ain't even gotta, like, yo, and not only that, when you believe in somebody to hold that, it's better. Like I believe that they can take that reign and run with it and do what they do. Like Tammy's telling them people to shut the fuck up in the restaurant. Like that shit is hilarious to me. And to be able to sit back and trust everybody can pull that off made me even fall back even further. So. And you'll
don't
see
fall back too far. We still need you.
Exactly.
No, don't fall back. We need you. We need you.
No, but I'm comfortable to fall back and be like, yo, like, man, they
got you.
Yeah.
Before we get out of here,
I think your response was close. I think your response is what we were looking for. But Yo Boy, definitely, we'd love to hear from you as well.
I will tell you this. I think it's I agree highly with what Cynthia said. I think it's really a suspense show, right? Like I've probably never been as much a part of a show where you are really waiting at the end of the episode to see what happens. So I think above all, a lot of ways it's a suspense thriller, right? And we just have comedy and we have drama. I love dark comedy. And I love, Heathers and shit like that. And so, I think so often Black folks, we don't get to play that nuance. Do you know what I mean? We don't get to, it's either we super serious and we about to die, or look at this fucking joke, rip it up. You know what I mean? And it's like, there's so many more layers to us, to Dion, to Tammy, to everybody involved. And I also want to shout out Ashley, because it's a thankless role. Do you know what I mean? And a lot of times as a character, she's playing a character that fucks up or does things that aren't right, or that we immediately go, that's stupid. Same with my character, right? Same with all the characters. And I think one of the things that's important to remember, as Deanna said earlier to me, is these are average folks. Do you know what I mean? And they go and fuck up. And, this is not a show about people who know how to handle every corner, how to cut everybody off and know exactly what to do at every moment. We all think we know what we're going to do. And we all think we know how people should act. And this is a show about people who think they know what to do and are completely thrown off when those situations happen. It is very much, that is the way of the show. And that I think that's where the secret and the magic lies, and why things keep unfurling upon itself. So I just think that's an important thing to remember. And I think it's also one of the fun parts of watching all of these characters in a show, because there's a bunch of people who have never been in any of these situations going, I wouldn't have done that. But y'all know how to cut up a body. Y'all know what you would do if you was with the Russian mob. What are you talking about? But everybody thinks they know how it would go. And so I think that's what's also fun, is that everybody has an opinion. Everybody can pick somebody they relate to, and everybody can pick somebody to blame for everything that's happening. And that's what keeps everyone involved.
Well, we are certainly looking forward to, seeing what the audience reaction will be. However, I'm going to predict that they're going to simply love it, because it's a great show, and I see a long, long, long run to it. So again, thank you all for your time today. We appreciate it. On behalf of the world's largest group of Black film and TV critics, thank you for watching this edition of AAFCA Roundtables. Have a great day.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.